to my photo editing live stream where you can submit your images, ideally before the stream starts, and edit them here for you live using DxO Photolab 9. I'm on version 9.4.0, and I have the latest NVIDIA drivers installed on my Windows laptop. So just some basic technical specs. And also, if you're new here, let me know in the chat section. I always like to see new people come in. And I also have affiliate links down below if you'd like to give DxO a try. But you know, the primary reason I do this is it's really to show you the tools and my workflow for editing photos. And a lot of you found that very helpful and have made some nice comments. I appreciate that. And so without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. And then one other note I'll make is, oh, I'm sorry, on the affiliate links, there's a 15% discount code for my viewers. So just use my affiliate link together with the discount code RobTrek, and you can save 15%. And, you know, well, I'm not going to sell it. It sells itself really when you see the results that I get here, particularly with the noise reduction and optical corrections that it does. So so let's get started. I see John is here and Robert. Good to see you. Paul, Larry, Heather. Okay. Oh, thanks for the sound audio check and video. I forget the look sometimes. All right. Let me pull up the screen. You can close this window. And sometimes some of you like to send your edits of the photo. So you can send in, if you edited this photo already yourself, you can send it in and compare to what I did here. It's always great to see what you guys do. We can learn from each other that way. And it's in no way am I critiquing the photos, you know, or being judgmental. I simply approach the photos the way I would edit them if they were my own. And, you know, there's no right or wrong, but I can offer some tips and, okay, something. Because I like to look at sometimes the camera settings and maybe give you some tips on, you know, on camera settings to use and things like that, and also, you know, how I would do things differently. All right, we're almost there. I got the images up, and looks like I have 10 shots today. This one is an edit. Shakib sent his edit in already. All right, so let me enlarge the screen so you can see the sliders and things a little better too. Okay. All right, so that's a little better. And the F9 key toggles the side panels in and out like that. And I will make these a bit smaller. So we'll start here, one from Glenn Davies. And you'll notice in the corner on some of the images, there's a little green down arrow, which means I need to download the optics module, which really applies an intelligent sharpening. It's one of their signature technologies that DxO uses to get the most or the best sharpness out of the lens. And it does it in an intelligent way. It doesn't just sharpen the entire image. It looks at the lens and camera combination and then optimizes the sharpening based on that. So we got to downloaded the optics module. So we have a Sony A1, nice, with the 200 to 600. Great combo there. Okay, so first thing I look at when I'm doing Let me adjust this cam just a bit. Okay. So the first thing I look at is I just look at the overall exposure and white balance and general composition, in a sense if I need to do any level any horizons, or I want to get a little tighter to the subject, things like that. Maybe give it some balance. And everything looks good here. The white balance, it's slightly underexposed. And I can see you dialed in a -1 here on the settings. I think you could have left it at 0, but I know, you know how it is, right? When you're in the field, sometimes you don't see where your settings are at exactly, but this is close enough. There's plenty of wiggle room. Plus or minus 2 stops. If you're off, it's no big deal in the exposure. Most cameras can handle, recovering highlights and shadows within that range. So let me start with a basic preset. And this is just applying optical corrections and denoising. And it's just a preview of the denoising. To see the full effects of the denoising, you have to actually export the image. So I'm going to just work on the composition now. And I like to do, and this is the geometry panel, I like to do all of the any kind of geometric changes that I'm going to make, like cropping, perspective corrections, distortion. I'd like to do all of these things before I do any other local adjustments, because sometimes it can get a little weird. The local adjustments don't always follow changes in the particularly the distortion and perspective corrections. So it's probably fine now. They've, but I just got, early on in Photolab, earlier versions, I did have that problem where I would like make adjustments on the eyes, and then I would do an adjustment on the geometry, and then the adjustment I did on the eyes are now up over here. So they said they fixed that, but I've just gotten in the habit of doing all the geometric changes first, and it's a good workflow to do that. Okay. So I'm thinking just a 1x1, and then just come in a little tighter, because there's nothing in the background that really adds any story to the image or interest. So I think that's a nice portrait. Looks like a cheetah. Okay. So I think that's all I need to do for geometry. I'm going to just go over here to the light panel and just click Smart Lighting. And that didn't do enough. So I'm going to turn that off. And I'm just going to do things manually. And the background is actually about the right luminance that I want. I just need to brighten up the cheetah. And if I do things here, it's going to overexpose the background. But I'm going to just add a little bit of, just a little adjustment here. And I like to keep this a straight line from top to bottom in either direction. That seems to give me the most natural looking results. But let me go over to local adjustments, and I'm going to use the AI tool to select the cheetah. And typically I can just hover over the subject that I want, and it quickly identifies it. And I'm just going to just do a linear push on the exposure. And whenever I add light, whether it's through the exposure slider or selective tone, I typically like to add a little bit of warmth as well. And we're at like about 4,000. I try to keep it within 500 Kelvin. Time to time I'll be a little more extreme when the image calls for it. But most of the time, if you stay within plus or minus 500 Kelvin of the original white balance, you can, again, it keeps it more natural looking. It doesn't look weird. All right, I think that's pretty good. So I'm just going to do a little more linear exposure here. That's a bit too much. Right about there. And then I'm just going to push the shadows a tiny bit. No, I think that looks good. Okay, so let's do the eyes. And whenever I do animals in general, I like to look at the eyes, the nose, the ears. And then if the paws or feet are in the frame, I look at those as well. Because the eyes, nose, and ears are really the key features of most animals. And when I look at those, I tend to brighten these. First, I always start with the eyes. So I'm going to zoom in and use a control point. And I don't just select the eye. I could select the eye with AI, but I like to just kind of generally brighten the entire area around the eye. So I'm going to start there, and then I'm going to push the shadows. See how nicely that looks when it just kind of lightens up the area around the eye as well. And then to make the eyes a little bit glossy, I just add some clear view and some micro contrast. If there's any detail in the iris, this will help bring that out. And then again, since I added light, I'm just going to add just a little bit of warmth there. All right, perfect. And then let me go to the nose and ears. So let me start with the nose. And I'm just going to, let me delete that. I'm sorry. I need to make a new mask because I don't want to use the same settings that I used on the eyes on the nose. Sometimes I can, but usually I need to make a new mask. Just going to do a linear push and then a little push in the shadows and some micro contrast to bring out a little bit of the speculars, hopefully. It's not coming out too much, so I'm going to back off the luminance slider. And let's back off the chroma. So chroma is color, and luma is brightness. I think that works well. Maybe just a little more push. Let me push the highlights just a bit. And when I'm doing local adjustments on small areas like this, I don't really need to keep a straight line. Because I'm not affecting the entire image. I'm just affecting a local area. So it's not quite as critical to follow that rule down here. And then I'm going to make a new mask. I click the plus sign here, and I'm going to work on the ears. Maybe a little bit smaller over here. And then let's just do, again, just a linear push on the ears. And we'll add some micro contrast for a little bit of detail and specular. Okay, so let me pause for a second and take a look at that. It's a little bit too light over here. So what I can do is I can delete that. So I'll select it again. I can delete this, or I can just make it smaller. There, that's good. Because when it was too big, it was making the whole ear too bright. So I'll just make it smaller. And let me adjust this. Maybe this one can actually be a little bit bigger. All right, good. So I think the face is looking a lot better. So if I do a comparison, that's the before and that's the after. Okay, he has a little collar on him. Question is, do I want to try to minimize that, or I think it's fine the way it is. It's not too distracting here. And it does add to the story here of the image. Okay, now there's a little bit of haze kind of going on around here that possibly, again, maybe shooting through a piece of glass, or there's a light fog happening. I'm not sure exactly because there's not too much haze on the cheetah itself. There's really good contrast here. It's just in the around him. So We'll try and leave that there. If I thought this was being shot through a piece of glass, I might try and dehaze the entire image a bit. Let me just do a mild clear view, just overall. And then what I'm going to do, let me back off. No, I think we're still good here. Let me just back off this a little bit. I'm going to go back to the cheetah and just bring that up a tiny bit more. It's getting too bright, so I'm going to use the sliders. I'm just going to push maybe just the highlights a bit. So I don't want to make it look like he was just kind of cut and paste into the scene. Okay. All right, let me brighten up the overall image. And then I'm going to add a vignette. So if you don't have Film Pack installed, you can still do vignettes by using a control point. So I think I'll vignette more up here. And then I just turn the chroma and luma to 0. And then I like to use the selective tone sliders to get a more natural looking vignette. Because if I just pull the exposure down, oops, I'm sorry. One more thing I got to do. I got to invert it. There. So if I just pull the exposure down, it looks kind of like a fake vignette, right? But if I do it with the sliders like this and start with the blacks and then move into the shadows, I think it looks much more natural. And I can even just keep the highlights and the midtones in there. So we can compare that, right? Okay. So far, so good. Let me see where we're at. Okay, I think I just want to add a little more color and warmth to the image. So I'm going to start with just adding some color, like vibrancy. I'm just going to do that to taste. Then maybe a touch on the saturation. Yeah, I may not need to bring any more warmth into the image. But let me go back up to white balance and let me just pull back a little bit here. Yeah, right there. And pull back a little bit here. And typically for another default that I make is I like to use the DxO Natural. That's part of my default preset. If I use the original Sony profile, sometimes I like to check these other ones out just to see what kind of look I get. Oh, I like this Portrait 1. And Portrait 2, 3, and Neutral. I think actually in this case the Vivid looks best. Okay, that's it. So I'm going to export this. And original image folder, no resizing, sRGB, preserve color details. So you want to use these settings whenever you're going to share this image online. Sometimes you have to resize it depending on the resolution so you can upload it to certain sites, but usually you're pretty good. So let's export that. And I can check the progress with this arrow over here. The first image always takes 15 to 30 seconds. And then the next few images, you know, from there can take as little as 5 or 6 seconds for me to export. But the first one, I don't know why the first one always takes a little extra, But there we go. So this one's about 20, 25 seconds. All right. So let me clear that. And now I can compare the before and after directly with my raw edit, but the raw edit does not have the DxO denoising and everything really applied at its full potential. So what I like to do is I like to reset the original raw image, and then go down here and compare it to the output. What did I output? I outputted the JPEG just now, right? And oops, I'm sorry, somebody's here. Oops, okay, sorry, I'm just checking my cameras. False alarm. Of course, Ellie doesn't think so. All right, so here's the before and after. I think that came out pretty nice. And we can do a slider to kind of see. It doesn't line up quite right because I did that crop. So let's go back to a split view. But I think it did a really nice job, and I didn't have to mess with the sharpening or anything like that. It's already very sharp. But that looks really good. So, and I think the crop works, the square crop, but that's very subjective. Okay, and then I just want to take a moment to I want to thank Oxygreep. Is that how you say that? Oxygreep or Ox? Well, in any case, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Okay, and I see Jeff has come in since then, and Cynthia, good morning. Michael, howdy. And Bamsam, good to see you. So I'm really looking forward to next week or the week after getting the Zuiko 300F4. Oh, nice. Yeah, you'll be really happy with that setup. Okay, so let's go to the next image. I hope you like that edit, Glenn. And we have one here from John. So I'm going to hit the F9 key and bring my panels back in. Let's apply. Oh, let me check to see. Let me pull up the film strip. I do need to download the optics module for this as well. So we have a Z5. Okay, I don't think I've seen you shoot with a Z5 before. I always seem to remember you had a Z8, I thought. Anyway, I can't remember. I know you shoot Nikon. I thought it was a different model though. Okay, let me know in the comments if this is new or if this is what you've always been sending. So I've seen this landscape before, maybe more in the winter. So this is one of John's favorite spots, I think, and obviously it's beautiful. So it'll be interesting to see if I do anything different with this edit, because the composition is almost identical. I'm wondering. The lighting is good. With landscapes, I like to generally keep the haze go into the background. And you did raise the exposure a bit to bring the shadows in, so that's why this looks a little bright to me. So I may bring this down a bit with a graduated filter. And as far as a crop goes, I'm always conscious of corners when it comes to landscapes and architecture. So I'm wondering, I think this area right here where this river is, but it really goes edge to edge on this frame. Been more would have gave me a vertical option if this was a little bit more straight. And the trees up here. So when I look at a composition, obviously I look at the horizon, and I also like to consider the balance, not only like in terms of like how heavy are things over here versus over here, but also in terms of color and lighting. Like I said, I noticed that it's a little bit bright over here, but we can make it a little darker over here. And everything's balanced, meaning it doesn't feel too heavy on one side or the other. But there's this one hill. This is a very strong, very bright area in the scene. This is what's kind of throwing it off for me, I think, is this. So maybe, let me just quickly experiment with a vertical. So I'm looking at the corner here, and then I'm split right here where the dam is. Maybe not. Let's try. Okay. This works a little better. So let me work on this angle. Maybe even do a 16:9. And stay a little bit more to the right, because like I said, this hill here, I got a little bit, this is a little distracting here, but this follows the corner of the water, this embankment. But I might be able to go over. Let's go with that. I think that's a nice balance there. Okay, now let's do some local adjustments. And I'm going to do just a control line. It's the same thing as a control point. It's just a straight line, a graduated line. I'm going to come up. Actually, I'll just go all the way up. And then I'm going to use the dropper and just watch how the mask is changing as I'm going around and see. I think there looks good. So the mask is really only affecting down here and just a hint up towards the top. So I want to bring the shadows in down here a little bit. So I'm just going to pull on the blacks, a little bit on the shadows, and then let's push. Let's push the midtones and highlights a bit. Okay. And since that's darker, maybe just pull the white balance in just a couple of 100 Kelvin. So when I darken things, I do the opposite. I make it a little cooler, right? Okay, that looks pretty good. I think maybe some micro contrast. Go the opposite way. No, let's leave that at neutral. Let's try a little clear view. Just a touch. All right, now let's do another control line. So I'll make a new mask. And we'll go up here. And for this one, I'm just going to just temper it a bit. But let's make it just a tad brighter. Okay, let me see. Okay, and I'm going to add a little warmth. me move my eyedropper more to a highlight area. Let me see the mask. Yeah, the mask is doing a little bit too much work, so I'm going to tighten it up a bit. Right here. And whenever I do chroma luma adjustments, I try to do not more than 5 or 10 points on the slider. Again, just to try to keep things all natural. Okay, let me turn the mask off and compare. Yeah, that's giving me more of what I want. I want a little bit more of a like a morning glow over here. And let me try some, just a little bit of micro contrast to bring a little detail. I'm going to pull the blacks back down. It's very subtle overall. Let me compare with this. I think down here needs to be more green. So let me go back to this mask. I'm just going to pull the white balance and just shift it green a tiny bit. And then let me go to the other control line. If I make this more magenta. All right, so now we have the, again, my geometry, my exposure, my white balance. I have these 3 things kind of done first. Now I'm going to go more into the local adjustments around the image. So let's make a new mask. And I don't think the AI is going to pick out the water, but let's see. Yeah, it's a little too broken up. You can select that one. And water, generally, I like to make a little darker. So let me just pull that in. And I'm going to cool it off because I did make it darker. And I'm going to do submask. So I want to do another AI selection, but I want it to use the same exact settings. So I'm just going to create a submask. I still have the AI tool selected, and I'm going to select the water over here. Okay. And yeah, it's a little too broken up to get in there. So I'm going to create another submask and just use a very, very light brush. So I have the flow set very low to 20%. And I'm just gonna add in here. That's overlapping on the trees. Let me try it another way. It's really tough to get in between these trees. So I'm just gonna use a control point. So let's make a new, a submask. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the control point on the lighter part here. Let me make it smaller. And I'm going to tighten up the luma. So if I show you the mask, now I've created a control point that's not affecting the trees or the shadow areas, but only the water. You can also just add a little bit to the chroma. Let's do one more on the luma there. Now, as long as I keep selecting these lighter points, it's not going to affect the rest of the area. Let me go down here. I can use this move zoom tool over here. I can kind of get in here. And And let's see, anywhere else? No, I think we're good. Okay. Let me just double check. Let me add one more here. Okay. All right. Let me see where we're at. So the water's looking good. I could probably do a little more with that. Okay, good. Oh, not too much. I'm starting to get a little bit of halo over here around the trees. So let's not do too much. Okay, and I noticed there's a couple other little things. There's a few houses over here. There's a trail over here. So let me go back to the AI tool, see if I can get that trail like that. I'll do the same thing here. I'll just make it a little darker. Try some clear view. Clear view seems to work pretty good. And let's make a new mask, and I'm going to highlight select these homes here. Submask, a little bit more up here. Oops, I'm sorry. I meant submask right here. And a submask on this house. Maybe a little bit more down here. All right. And let's start with the highlights. And a little bit of midtone and shadow. Let's try some clear view and micro contrast. And let's see if there's any color at all. We can push the vibrancy. Okay. All right, one last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of more shadows. So let me try with a control point. This may be too. Let me make a very tight luma mask because I want to only affect the shadows. That's good. So I'm going to move this around until I get to the shadows that I want. Okay. A little bit there. If I do chroma a bit tighter. All right, so I have to be careful here. So let me just start with the blacks. So I'm just trying to add a little more definition, but not lose that haziness. Let me see how that's. Yeah, that's not working. The mask is too tight. My problem is right in here. Let me get rid of this one. this smaller. Okay, a little bit there. Move this. Okay, let's try a little micro contrast. All right, one last thing is, let me go over here to the color panel and just add some vibrancy. Maybe some global warming here on the white balance. Pull the greens in. Okay, I'm going to call it there. And we'll check the progress, but it's probably already done. So that you can see that one only took 6 seconds, right? It's always the first one that takes a little extra time. So let me go ahead and reset this, and then we'll do a comparison against the output, F9 key, and then we'll do a side by side. So 16 by 9 crop I think works a little better, and very, very subtle changes here overall, even though there's a lot of work, but you know, it's the finer points, sometimes you have to take a little extra time, right? Maybe a slider would make it more obvious. Yeah. Okay, so that's the final edit. I could have done a little more work in the trees here, but they're all in shadows, so it would look a little unnatural. But I like this one bush here, because there's a little bit of, I missed this, there's a little bit of a different tree here. They're not evergreens. There's something else here. Okay, let's go to the next one. And this one is from William. Okay, so let me, oh, there's a rainbow coming in right here. Wow, these are tough. Rainbows are really tough. And then the highlights on the ship are kind of clipped, which might be okay. And the horizon is just a little bit off, I think. So let's apply basic preset. I'm gonna go over to the horizon and just tilt it like so. And composition wise, I'm debating if I really need the foreground there. Maybe just chop that out. Okay, I think that's good. So let's go to the local adjustments. Oh yeah, Bamsam says he would get rainbows for me, because I was complaining last week how hard they are. All right, let me get rid of this so I can see a little better. Uh, let's just do the ship real quick. I'm gonna so I just used the AI tool and selected it with the mouse. Just pull in the highlights. And add some clear view and some micro contrast. And that really hid the rainbow quite a bit. If I try to select the water now, yeah, we'll do that. And it selected some of the landscape there. So I'm going to make a new mask, do a control line, and crap. No, I'll probably have to use a brush. Let me use a brush. I'm just gonna brush in here, and let's just add a little brightening right there, just to separate the let me do that again. Wasn't very straight. And I'm going to turn the flow down 10%. There. Now let me brighten this. Okay. It's a little smaller brush. Maybe some clear view. That looks weird. Let me go to the loop and see. Did I not apply my preset? I did. So the clear view is making the rainbow a little bit noisy. How about down here? Let's turn that off. So if I add clear view, just adding a bit too much, maybe back off the micro contrast. Okay. Because the rainbow's looking a little bit grainy. Let me not do any clear view on the water. So let me delete that mask. Okay. Yeah, rainbows are tough. I'm gonna get a very light flow brush on the rainbow and add some vibrancy and saturation. And then we'll add some more down here. Because I have the flow very light here at 10%, so I can just continue to add. Let's do one more up here. Maybe one more. A little bit on this side. A little bit over here. All right. I think that's it. I'm not happy with the water though. The water, I think I'll just use a very light brush. So I'll make a new mask. And just, I'm at 10%. I'll just manually just brush in a little bit. Let's add the clear view and some micro contrast. Because the water's too smooth or soft. I need a little more texture. All right, let's call it there. So I export that. And then we'll compare. Should be done any second. There we go. I'll reset this. Okay, so that's pretty close, I think. I should have done a little work here on the landscape here. But I felt like the landscape down here, it does kind of balance the landscape up here a bit. But I just decided to cut it out because it's just it's too much there. I think this is a little more simple and it really shows off the rainbow. Yeah, I think that works. I'd like to, God, this is interesting. Must be partly cloudy because this landscape back here is not being illuminated the same as the landscape here and down here. It's really, really back there in the haze, like almost like it's raining in the background, but it's sunny in the foreground. Hence the rainbow, right? Rainbows come out when it rains, right? So that's probably what's going on. I think it's raining back here, and it's just sunny up here. But okay. I think that came out all right. Okay, so let's go to the next one. And after this edit, I will go back to the chat section. All right, so we have a hummingbird. And again, it's just, let me customize. Let me double check. Do I need the optics module? Nope. You know, if DxO is watching, it'd be nice to see if the DxO module is available or not over here in this panel, rather than have to always pull up the film strip. It would just help my workflow a little bit. Okay, I think I can just AI select these things and brighten them, and then temper the background a little bit. I love the background though. It's the colors that, so let me apply the basic preset first. And we'll do a slight horizon crop. I wonder if the auto will see it. Yeah, the auto fixed it. Okay. So if I just click on the horizon, it's already auto selected, but the feeder was crooked. Maybe it really is crooked in real life, but it just looks better when it's straight. I'm going to emphasize these reds on these flowers, the greens on the hummingbird, and maybe let's just crop in a bit tighter, try and do some rule of thirds composition, a little bit of balance. Oh, this corner. That corner is a little bit too dark. And then now we have too much space here on the left. So it's out of balance, right? It feels a little bit shifted to the right. Maybe a 5x4. Let me try 5x4. And just come in. Okay, I like that. Just a tiny bit more to the right. Okay, that seems to have a nice overall balance. A little bit higher. I'm not going to be able to get rid of that corner. This corner, I'm going to have to just brighten it a tiny bit. So it might be easier to select just the background first, and then we'll submask and add in down here. Nope, that didn't work. Let me see what my masks look like. Yeah, in between here is a problem. So let's not submask the background. Let's AI mask the hummingbird. The water, there, that, whoops. Let's make a submask. Okay, and then this one is the water. Okay, good. So we'll go to the hummingbird. I'm going to bring that in here. You can also just drag things in like this. So look over here in this panel. I have a mask in here. I can bring it in and make it a submask like that. So let me make a submask. I want to add this flower. And another submask, add this flower. Probably the rectangle tool would have been better. All right, let's start raising the exposure a bit on these now. Okay. Now I'm going to add a little bit extra here. And then go to the lighting panel and subtract a little bit. That's a little bit too much. Maybe a third. Go back to the local adjustments and just pull this back. All right, that's good. Oh, there's a little bee here too. That's cool. Let's select that guy. Let's see if we can get him. Nope, let's just use the brush. So I'm just using the auto masking brush. I'm gonna add a little bit there. Just to bring that out. Now it kind of overshot a little bit here. on the wing. So I'm going to hit the Alt key and just subtract. So I'm pushing the Alt key right now on the same brush. How's my mask looking? Good. Okay. Go back to the original mask. I'm going to select that. And let's just add just a little vibrancy there. Same thing with this one. Okay, it added vibrancy all over. That's fine. Okay. Because anything I do to one of these submasks, it affects all the other masks exactly the same. Okay, let's go over to the hummingbird. And you know, with birds, it's always eyes, beaks, and talons. And then I look at the body and wings, but I always like to make sure, so we'll make a new submask and a control point. I always try to bring the eyes in if I can. And we'll see how far we get, because these eyes are really dark. But there is some color in here. So what I'm going to do is go right about there. We'll tighten up the luma just a bit. And let's push that a little more. And some clear view, micro contrast. Okay, not bad, right about there. Okay, so we can see a little bit of pupil there. And then let me try the beak. Beak is going to be tough. So let's try the auto masking brush. And add some clear view, push the speculars. And some micro contrast. And then let's use a very soft brush. Again, soft meaning I have the flow very low. I'm going to resize it. So if I hit the control key and roll the wheel on my mouse, I can change the size of the brush. So I'm going to do that. And what I want is just a little more micro contrast and vibrancy in here. Oh, shoot. I'm using the same mask as the one for the beak. So I'm going to Control Z. I need to make a new mask. My bad. All right. So we'll go back to regular light brush. Let me zoom in. Okay. And some micro contrast. Tiny bit of clear view, and let's just push the vibrancy a bit. And we'll add a little bit of warmth. Maybe a little more. Okay. So I'm going to back off the micro. I'll leave that there. Let me back off the highlights a tiny bit. Select my brush again. Just add a little bit here. All right, perfect. Let's export that. And we'll reset it and we'll compare. Okay. So I think the crop is just right for this frame. And I love the very fluid background. It's so smooth and the subtle tones. So all we really had to do is brighten up the bird. I may have overdone it slightly on the eyes here, but let's zoom in. Tiny bit of haloing here with the brush, but that's all right. You can't really see it when you zoom out. But I think that came out pretty good. It brought out a lot of nice details. And then overall on the image, you know, like I totally didn't see the bee here when it was too dark, but here I can. So that came out nice. If anything, I might brighten up the bee just a tiny bit more, but I think that looks good. All right, let me go. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the right button here. Where's the chat window? Ah, the chat's not working, but that's all right. I might have pasted the wrong. There we go. Okay, so good morning, Shri. Good to see you. And Shakib, good to see you. Waiting outside the school to pick up the kids. It will take me a couple hours to get home. Okay. Hopefully you like the edit I did. And I told you I'd have rainbows. Yeah. Probably rain noise. Yeah. Probably a little bit of rain. That's what it looked like. It was raining in the background. And Glenn Davies says, thanks, Rob. I compared my cheetah to yours and mine looks dull. I was trying to remove the spackle light from the reeds in the background, but your approach ignores that and emphasizes the cheetah. Yes. Yeah, I don't mind speculars usually. Speculars, I think, just add a little visual interest to the image overall. Again, it's very subjective choice, but yeah, the speculars didn't bother me at all. I don't even really see them anymore. Notice the bee, yeah, I see it. I did see it like after I brightened the image or when I zoomed in, I could see it. Heather says, big difference on the hummingbird. Yeah, I think that looks good. The hummingbird came out okay. Thank you. Okay, so let's go back to the editing. I'm going to pull up the film strip. We'll go over here. I can see I have an optics module I need to download, so I'll do that. Okay, so, wow, that's interesting. You had to dial in -2.5 EV. And it doesn't look like it's 2.5 stops underexposed, maybe 1 stop. Okay, so I think we need a little bit of a horizon correction. It feels a little bit off. Not just the horizon, but the pitch of this shot looks a little bit off. There's a little bit of skewing. So I'm going to go over the geometry and just click this and see. Okay, that feels right. You see how this is angled in on the left side and then this side is a little bit straighter? It just felt like the pitch, you know, the pitch of the camera and the yaw was a little bit off. So that fixed it up nicely. Oh, let me apply, I'm sorry, let me apply basic preset first. And then we'll go back here and apply perspective. Okay, good. And then let's just crop. Hold on. Let me brighten it. I don't want to crop in. So we're going to have to go a little bit square or back off the perspective a little bit. Let's try, we're 4:3. Let's try a 5:4. Maybe a vertical. Hmm. Okay, I'm going to back off the perspective a little bit. It's a really interesting statue. Everybody's spewing water out of their eyes. All right, I'm going to take this exposure back. Globally, the white balance feels a little bit too cool, so I'm definitely going to warm this up because I'm going to be adding light to it. And I wonder, I bet this beam down here is about right. Nope. Where are we at? 55. Let's go to about 6,000. Okay. And wow, this is going to be, it's going to be tough for the AI. Whoops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the shift key down and just keep selecting each little statue. Okay. And let's just bring them up. Let me go 2 stops up because we're 2 stops underexposed. So I'm going to go 2 stops up and then pull the overall exposure back down. Maybe about there. Let's go back to the statues. Okay, let's do 1 stop there and then we'll go to the selective tones. I'm wondering if maybe a black and white. Let me just, yeah, I'm going to go black and white. And then some clear view and micro contrast. Maybe some regular contrast. Yeah. All right. We need a little bit more. right about there. Oops. Okay, now I just saw a quick question. What key am I hitting to show all the submasks together? I think I just select this and then select the submask. So I just select them all together like that right here and then click this button. And if I highlight, move my mouse and over this, the little dot, like the first submask, it'll highlight them all as well. Because if I move the mouse around, it's trying to select another submask. But if I hover my mouse right on this little black rectangle, which is the first submask I created, it'll highlight them all. But that's two different ways you can do it. You can select it here, then do show submask. Okay. And then, just going down here, let's see. I think I'm going to try and brush. Let's make a new mask. I'm going to start with a light brush like this. What I want to do is just minimize the rest of the area here. Yeah, Heather, I'm just using my mouse and moving it around. Oh, that's a bit too much. I'm going to erase a little bit right there. Let's try one more time. Okay. All right. We're almost there. Last thing I want to do is maybe a bit here. No, that's not bad. I'll leave the light there. Last thing I want to do is try to get the speculars on the water, the water stream here to just come out a little bit more. I don't know what. Let me try an AI mask. Let's see how good it is. If it'll select just the water stream. A little bit there. I'm going to hold the shift key. No. It's struggling to get just the water. So let me make a new submask. I'm going to try with an auto masking brush. We'll make this small and see. Yeah, that's working better. You just need kind of a steady hand. I think a drawing tablet would probably make this easier, like with those pens, instead of using a mouse. Oops, a little bit too much. I missed. I can just hit the Alt key. Now, if I hit Alt and Control at the same time and roll my mouse, I can change the size of the brush. So I'm holding the Alt key and the Control key at the same time. And that lets me change the size of the negative brush. I'm just gonna just go in here and then a little bit here. Okay, anyone else? Yeah, a little bit in here. Let's forget about that one. We just need to... Oh, there's water here. All right. Okay. A little bit here. Sorry, I'm taking so much time on this one. I just want to... Okay, so let's try pushing the highlights. And micro contrast. Whoops. A little bit of clear view. Did I miss that one? No, it's there. This one's not getting as much love from the... Create a submask. Yeah, it's not getting quite as much. All right. That's all right. All right, we'll call it there. The water's a little bit too much. Let's back it off a little bit. And then where's my... This is my shadow brush, right? Let me just add a little shadow in here. Little shadows in here, a touch there, touch here. All right, that's good enough. Okay, so let's export that. All right, I think that I like the black and white. I think that looks pretty good. I just cropped out this guy, and it's okay to crop out a little bit over here too, but you have to kind of balance with cropping a little bit on the right side. So you'll notice how I crop the arm here because I cropped the arm and leg over here. And overall that has a better balance. And then of course with the perspective corrections and then bringing out the, I should have added a little more shadow here. She's a little bit too bright. Let me do that real quick. This is my shadow brush, right? We'll just add a little bit in the front. a little bit here. A little bit there. Okay. Sorry. I really shouldn't do all this little things at the end. It just makes the stream really long, but let's go ahead and reset. Okay, that feels a little better. But I think that came out okay. I like that a lot better now than the original. Because now the statues really stand out. Maybe too much. It's easy enough to just go and darken this again, because if you recall, I selected all those in a single mask. So I can go back to this mask, or no, it's the first one, this one. I can just bring it down just a little bit. If you felt like it was too bright, right? Maybe about there would be perfect. All right, very good. Let's go to the next one. Okay, customize. Oops, let me just check. I don't need an optics module. So we can go ahead and apply the preset. Let me pull out the tab over here. Okay, everything looks good. So maybe a slight tilt to the right, just to make everything a little bit more vertical. Okay, and then a little bit of a narrow crop. So we're 4:3. Let's try 3:2. And come in just a little. Whoops. I meant to grab the corner. Just want to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this one rock here. Okay. All right, that feels good there. This one is distracting me here. But I don't think I can crop any tighter. Let me just get this corner. Okay. So I have this rock going into a corner. I'll just live with that. So let's make the tree a tiny bit more red. The water a little darker. Maybe a little more blue. So let's see how the AI tool does. We'll do that. Shift. And select down here and here. And let's use the rectangle tool. See if we can just select all these at once. And this one. And this one. Maybe over here. Okay. I meant to make that one mask, but that's all right. What I'm going to do is, let's just try some clear view. Little micro contrast. And let's see, can we saturate the reds? There's not much red in there. Just shift the white balance slightly. Yeah, that's looking better. And I want to do the same thing to the other mask. Like I said, I meant to put those in the same mask overall. All right. And some clear view, micro contrast. All right, let's make a new mask, see if we can select the sand. Oops. Yeah, the sand, like that. I want the sand to be a little less bright overall. Okay. A little bit of clear view. Let's do regular contrast. If I do micro contrast, it'll make the sand look too gritty, I think. Okay. Let's pull the blacks and shadows in a bit more. All right, now let's do the water. So make a new mask. Again, the AI mask is struggling a bit in these background areas, so I'm going to create a submask with control points just to kind of fill in these gaps. And let's tighten up the luma and chroma. Just fill in these gaps. Okay, let's try clear view. And again, same thing. I want it to be a bit darker. Let's do some micro contrast. Ooh, maybe not. Let's add a little bit of cooling. Okay. Just had a thought. Let me go to the global. Let me pull a stop out there. Go back to the tree. Go over here to the needles. Go back to the sand. Oh, that's rock. Okay, just add a little more light again. Maybe warm up the image overall. And then let's just light paint a tiny bit with a very light brush. Okay, the water is just a tad too dark. In the sand. Okay. Let me go over to the detail panel. I'm just going to soften the image. Yeah, we'll turn off the unsharp mask. Okay. Wow, that was another hard one. Okay. All right, so basically I just felt like overall the image was a little bit bright, primarily because of the sand here. So I just tried to add some, contrast to the image. And then just a slight crop. Like this one rock was a little distracting to me. And we didn't need this. I guess this is not so bad. It's still here, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either. But other than that, I think that came out pretty good. So that's, where is it? Oh, let me do this. That's my final edit there. So there's before, and there's after. Maybe even a little vignette wouldn't have hurt, but okay. Let's go to the next one here. Okay. Nice little macro shot. Let's apply, let me see, do I need an optics module or anything? Nope, we're good there. So apply preset. And let's crop in a little tighter. Maybe a square crop. Let me do 3x2. And let's just try to capture what this ant is crawling up. Okay, I like that. It's a little bit soft, because it looks like you're using an adapted lens maybe. Based on the EXIF data, I don't see any lens data. So I'm going to guess. Let's just add some clear view. Maybe that's too much. Definitely some micro contrast. And let's try. Okay, vibrant looks good. I'm basing that off the green that over here. And a couple of local adjustments. Let's mess around with this red a little bit, a little tighter. Just pull that in a bit and add some saturation. Can do the same thing with the green. And down here with the yellows. And make a new mask, and we'll just see if we can bring out a little more detail on the ant. So let's tighten up the chroma. Oh, let's, instead of a control point, let's see how AI does. Oh, all right, there we go. So micro contrast, some clear view. I'll add some sharpening here. And let's give a slight push to the shadows and midtones. Highlights don't need much. And let's try a little vibrancy. Okay. Okay. You add just a tiny bit of light. We're done. I should have used the loop tool. Let me look at the loop tool and just get in a little bit closer. Yeah, that looks good. All right. All right, so here's the original on the right. It's a, it's a horizontal. I just thought the vertical worked better. It made this leaf that it's crawling up look taller. So I felt like that just made it a little more dramatic. And then of course the contrast, right? Overall and saturation. So if we zoom in, we can see, on the ant itself, how much detail we were able to bring in, mostly through micro contrast and then the sharpening slider. I could have tweaked it a little more with unsharp mask, but I think this looks pretty good. And we got rid of the tiny bit of noise that was in there. But great shot. These are not easy to do. Manual focus on an ant that's crawling. Yeah, that's rough. All right. Let's see. A blue heron. I'll finish these two and then I'll go back to the chat. Wow, this is tight. Really tight shot. Okay. Just a little tip. When they're just kind of sitting there standing still, you can drop your shutter speed down to like 1/1000th of a second. Like crap, you have a 150 to 400. Wow, I'm jealous. Anyway, I think I need an optics module here though. Yeah, let me download that. This is from Moxie Row. Is this yours, Heather? Might as well get the optics module for this too. This is a really cool shot from Paul. Macro. Is this the 90 mac? Yeah, it's a 90 macro, of course. And you guys are like sporting these really nice lenses. I'm so jealous. Okay, all right, so let's do a basic preset. I think the composition is perfect as it is. So all we have to do is kind of watch the highlights here and bring out a little more color. So let me try vibrant, and then let's just hit the highlights here. It's a little tight on Luma, and bring this in, and let's do the eyes. Just make them a little, give them just a little bit of pop. So clear view, micro contrast. Yeah, right there. Do the same thing. So eyes, beaks, talons, right? Let's just use the AI or auto select brush and just grab the beak. Just did a little bit too much here. Okay. A little bit of yellow. I think we need more yellow orange. And then some micro contrast and clear view maybe. All right, and then let's go ahead and use the AI tool and select the bird itself. And I'm just going to push the blues a little bit. So spread this into the blues. Maybe that's too much. Yeah, right about there. And then just warm up the image. Thinking I could darken the background a tiny bit. Let me see. Oh, crap. I didn't mean to delete that. So what I want to do is add a mask. Let me try something. Let's duplicate this. Put it in there. Let's invert it. And just pull the background down a bit. All right. Let's export that. Well, let's loop tool it. Let's see if we can bring out a tiny bit more feather detail. So let's go over to the detail panel. Push the intensity up. Slide the details over. I think that looks good. Let's check up here. Very nice, very nice. Okay, now let's export it. All right, so before and after. So yeah, really all we need is a little more contrast and saturation. Uh, this lens camera combo speaks for itself. It's amazing. And then I darkened the background a tiny bit. I maybe could have softened it more, but that's not really necessary. I think the image looks really good. And this we can do a perfect split because I didn't do any cropping or anything. But see how, and I warmed it up, but just a hair, right? Just to bring out sort of the oranges in the feathers. And if we zoom way in, you can see the difference in detail. Just how nice and crisp you can make this. And then of course the noise reduction, even at ISO 5000, but you filled the frames, so it's pretty amazing the difference, right? You can almost see the little veins in the eyes here. Man, imagine if you shot this at like ISO 1000 instead of 5000. But okay, very nice. Let's do the next one. And this one is from Paul. This is cool. I don't even know what these are. Let me know in the chat what these are. But yeah, I downloaded the optics for this, so we can apply preset. And I don't know if really anything else needs to be done. Let's do just some global adjustments here. Just temper the highlights a bit. Add some clear view. Micro contrast. I mean, this shot's perfect as it is. Let's just try maybe vibrant. Yep, vibrant looks good. And that's it. So let's export that. Well, let's pixel peep a bit here, because I'm seeing a little bit of grain. Oh, I didn't apply the preset. What is this? This is oh, this is a TIFF file. So I think you've already applied noise reduction and stuff. So let me just add a little bit more. Just standard reduction. And I might be able to temper that highlight a bit. Just a bit more in places. Let's just do a control line. I'm going to put the eyedropper right on that highlight. And let's tighten up the luma. And bring in the highlights a bit. Just a tad. I mean, I think that particular highlight's clipped, but okay, now let's look at the loop tool. A little bit of a stacking hole here. I think we can do a little with the sharpening. So let's go to the detail panel and work with the unsharp mask. So I'm going to just push the intensity a bit. There we go. Much better. Let's go a little bit wider. No, I don't think we need to. All I have to do is increase the intensity. And just add a tiny bit to the threshold. Maybe one, because when I do unsharp mask, sometimes you make the noise even, you know, you're sharpening the noise also. I'm just going to increase the threshold until that, yeah, that's about right. About about 10. So, okay, good. Let's export this. Okay, so just a quick side by side. I didn't have to crop or do anything. And yeah, basically I saturated it, added some contrast, and tempered the highlights a bit. Really, really beautiful shot. Just amazing. Like, I guess you use really like a highly reflective surface, maybe a piece of glass. Because if it was a mirror, we would have an even exposure, you know, with the reflection. But I think this is just a piece of glass. And then you use the mylar or something, right, to create the colors in the background. Mylar is very similar to like those emergency blankets that you keep in your car or should keep in your car. Uh, you know, that are really like a shiny foil. It's similar to that. I'm just guessing. Um, but I think that looks good. And then if we do a split view, we can see if I was able to bring in any more detail, just a little bit, but it's mostly the contrast that's making that look sharper, right? If we come in closer. Oh, you know, I almost pulled the trigger on a 90 macro when it was on sale at the refurbished site for like 950 bucks. I almost did it, but I was debating between that and the 150 to 600. But okay, I think let's go and check, see if anything else came in real quick. Sometimes you guys send your edits in. I see one here from Mickey Stein and Jeff. Okay. I'm feeling okay. I think I can do these too. So we'll get this one from Jeff. And Mickey, and then Shakib and Paul sent in their edits. So we'll compare those to mine. Okay. So let's take a quick look at Shakib's edit. I think, yeah, this is Shakib's edit, so we'll make that as the reference. So you want to, when you want to compare, whoops, I'm sorry. When you want to compare two different images, you know, you select one, you make it a reference right here. Use image as reference, and then I can compare it against my edit. Where did that go? Oh, over here. So let me get rid of these panels. So here's Shakib's edit versus mine. So he went with the square crop, which makes sense. But I kind of like just this, making this leaf feel taller than it is. I probably could have moved over a little bit more or made it cropped up a little bit higher. But in any case, and I did a little more saturating down here. But it looks good. Did a good job with the details, I think. I got just a little bit more detail out of mine. So just a little more work over here. I don't know what, oh, you're using photo, I think you're using the DxO as well, but maybe you're not using DxO and that's why the detail's not quite as crisp. But if you are using DxO, then look at the sliders that I use to just to pull out a little bit more detail. Okay, but overall, looks good. And let's compare. I think that's my edit. We'll make that the reference and we'll compare it to Paul's. So pretty similar. I definitely did more saturation though. Or, you know, I think the color profile that I chose, vibrant, is the big difference between the two. And then let's see the fine details. I think we're pretty close, but yeah, I definitely got more, I think I did some micro contrast or something. I don't remember. But oh no, I did the unsharp mask. I think that's the difference between yours and mine. Okay, let's go ahead and edit the other two that came in. Where is it? Okay, this one. Here's one from, I forgot, I didn't see the name, Mickey or something. All right, so I think all we have to do here is let's apply basic preset and let's straighten it a bit. Maybe we don't. Yeah, I was thinking of doing something like this, like at an angle. And let me see my crop. Since this is a very arty image, come off, take that wall out. I like that one specular. So we have this in the corner. Maybe come back a little bit. Whoops, whoops. I meant to right about there. And then let's make it very crispy. Let's see, let's try these different. So vibrant looks good. Yeah, let's do vibrant and then go to the detail panel and I'm going to make this very crispy. So I'm going to use a pretty big radius. And then let's try let's go to the light panel. Let's add some micro contrast, some clear view, and then let's push this okay, and then I'm going to exaggerate this particular highlight here. Let's back off the masking a bit. Maybe add a little warmth. like this. If I turn that off completely. Okay, and then let's make a new control point. Oops, I meant to new mask. Do kind of the opposite on this side. Add some magenta. So let me set this to 0 and 0. Okay, one last thing. Do the AI tool. Select that and just make that brighter. Maybe that. Okay, this, let me add a submask. Oh, I don't need to do a submask. Just select that and then select this. Just kind of add the same thing. I don't need this submask. Okay. Okay. So the photo, you know, this is like just kind of a creative shot to begin with. So let's compare. All right, so here's the original on the right. You know, it's probably a cloudy day, so it's a little bit flat. So I wanted to bring out all the textures, which you would see if the sun was shining on it, say at an angle, if, you know, with some side lighting. But since we didn't have that, I just forced it with micro contrast and sharpening. And then, you know, these speculars here represent, you know, spots of light. But since it's a painting, it's not actually illuminating any light. So that's why I did the control points to add the light in post-processing. Same thing down here. There's a little bit of a light down here. And then I did the opposite in terms of, you know, white balance, right? I cooled it off on the bottom and I warmed it up on the right side. And then just tilting it at an angle, I think worked. So I think that came out pretty good. All right. And then I think, let's see, Jeff sent this one in. I think this is Jeff's. Okay, so I'm sorry, I need to double check. I don't need any optics module. Okay. So let's apply basic preset. And then we'll select with the AI tool, a chipmunk. Let's add a little brightening here and then go globally. Let's pull the brightening back. So the background's now darker. And if I select this guy again, let's add a little bit of vibrancy and warmth. Just about 100 Kelvin, maybe 200. Yeah. All right, then just spot just spot hit the ears, the feet, the nose. I think the eyes are completely black. Let me just take a quick look. If I were to do something with the eyes, yeah, it's all black. So all I'm going to do with the eyes, I think, we'll just hit the highlights and the midtones. Let's do the same thing over here. Oops. I'm going to back off the Luma a little bit. All right, there we go. All right, let's do the ears and nose. So new mask. We'll give the nose a little vibrancy, saturation, and some micro contrast. And then the ears, let's make a new mask for the ears and just brighten these up a little bit. A little tighter on the chroma this time. Some contrast. All right, let's add a vignette. Right about here. Invert that. Oh, too much. Right there. And then maybe cool it off a bit. Okay. I should have cropped first, but I guess composition we're okay. It's just a little bit high on the top. Maybe lean into. All right. Oh, let me loop it real quick. Loop tool. And just check the fine details here. Go to the detail panel. Might need a little bit of just a little bit more on the unsharp mask. Just a hair. No pun intended. Okay. Okay, now we can export. I think the feet are okay. Could have probably just highlighted the nails a little bit, or the claws, but all right, I think that came out pretty good. So little contrast, saturation, darken the background, and slight crop, and we're done. That looks good. All right. So, and then let's do a slider and just look at the fine detail, like right here. Yep, got rid of all this noise. Brought in some color and detail. Looks great. Okay, I think I hit everything. Let me just go to the chat real quick. And Darko and Zoltan, how you guys doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. And the Heron is yours, yep. And you got an amazing deal last year. Oh, don't even tell me what you paid for it, because what they're going for about 6,500 now used right now. Could have got it. I probably could have got it closer to 5,000 last year, but yeah, yeah, 5,000, man. That's a lot. Okay, and staying indoors in the warm, doing macro focus stacking shots is cool. Oh, I gotta tell you, maybe I'll talk about it Sunday, but I tried to shovel my driveway a little bit. Oh my God. I only got about 10 feet of it done, if that. And I was dead. And I have about another, like, probably 60 or 70 feet to go of driveway. I'm hoping it gets warm enough next week, it'll just melt. But the problem I'm running into is I'm almost out of heating oil. And the delivery truck won't deliver unless my driveway is clear. And I don't know if I have enough oil to make it to next week. So I turned it, basically I have the heat turned down to 50 degrees in my house to minimize my heating oil use. It got down to like, oh, it got cold. My bedroom is like on the end. It got down to like 46 degrees. In fact, that's what it is right now. Man, it was cold taking a shower this morning. Getting out of the shower, that is, into my bedroom. So I'm in a dilemma, like, and I can't, and I'm trying to find somebody to come shovel the driveway for me. I'll pay, but everybody's booked out till next week. And by that time, the snow might melt, but I could be out of heating oil, which is a problem because I don't want my pipes to freeze. So I'm just, anyway, sorry for that rant. That's what I'm going to go out after this stream and go shovel my driveway. So it's on my mind, or try to shovel it, but it's like 4 inches of ice right now. So what I really need is a pitchfork to kind of get in there, you know? Ugh. All right. Yes, the shutter was way too fast. Was really shooting flying things and got excited with this guy. Oh yeah, been there many times. I got so many shots. A bird on a stick at like ISO 12,000. It's not even funny. When I could have shot it at like ISO 200. And looks great. Thanks. And always love to see Paul's images. Yeah, Paul is a great photographer. And since I've been working my way around the kitchen, taking images of different things, these are actually, oh, they're peppercorns. I have some of those. I wonder if I can get them out of the jar, though, because they're behind, it's one of those jars with the grinder built in. That's pretty cool, though. And you set your edit in. Okay, I got that. And good way to practice with your new macro. Wow. And it's a TIFF stacked in Luminar Neo. Man, that's awesome. How many images did you stack? Because, I mean, there was a couple of holes in the stack, but that's with almost any stacking software. I use Helicon, and that did a really good job, depending on how many stacks you had, right? And how tight. Yeah, it opens up a whole new world, definitely. And almost identical, yeah. Pretty close at it, pretty similar. And it's black glass coffee table, and the background is a craft card that my wife had. Okay. Interesting. Because it looks a lot like Mylar, right? Like when you have Mylar reflecting in the background. And Mickey Stein. Okay, great. I was happy I was able to edit your image. I hope you liked it. And buy some ice melt. I have some ice melt, but it's so cold. It's like 9 degrees. I think we're going to get to maybe 20 today. I don't know. Right now we're at 18 degrees. I don't think the ice melt works below 25 degrees. But I don't have enough ice melt to do 60, 70 feet of driveway is the problem. It's about 60 shots. Okay. and it's 17 degrees in Indiana. So yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking. I mean, I know we can't compare to like Siberia and places like that, but the infrastructure where I live is not designed to handle ice, right? Like this is the first time that I can remember that we ever got like icy rain on top of the snow. And then at this point, it's almost like all ice on the ground. And yeah, so it's the struggle is real, right? Let me oops, let me see if I can show you my driveway. I don't think this does it justice because this is a wide angle lens, but that's about 10 feet right here that I did, way up here in the corner. And then from here to about here is about, I would say roughly about 40 or 50 feet. I mean, I can get my truck in and out no problem, right? But there's a fuel oil truck right there, just drove by. Damn it. There's no way he can get in here. It's too small an opening. And I don't have the strength to widen it. You know what I mean? I can't make this wider because it's just compacted ice. And then, never mind, there's about 4 inches of thick ice all the way up to my Jeep. I really don't have to clear it from here to here, so maybe about 50 feet that I need to shovel. And I tried to shovel my sidewalk here. I got that out. Oh, it's so frustrating. But yeah, you can see a little chunk of ice here. It's probably about a 3-inch ice pack right there. You know, I know it has nothing to do with photo editing, but I know I've known a lot of you guys a long time. You guys have been here, so I appreciate you listening to that rant. But most of all, thanks so much for sending your images in. I hope you picked up a few ideas and tips and have a better idea about the workflow that I use for editing photos. Maybe you can apply some of that to your own. And I'll be back on Sunday for the regular photo chat. And then keep in mind for next week, I'm having my 8th annual Micro Four Thirds meetup. So I've already posted the video or the live stream up so you can check it out, see who's going to be there. And then I'm going to have another one after that with some more guests. I'm still trying to work out the final list of who's coming for the second one. So, but the first one's all set. So I hope to see you guys this week. If not, then next week. And of course, the editing streams I do every week on Fridays, best I can. And then shopping on Tuesdays for our gas addiction to photography gear, right? So thanks everyone. And I will see you guys again soon. So eat healthy.